So this is it. I'm very excited. This is the newest addition to the fleet. It's a 2001 BMW 325ci convertible. I had a really good friend I've had for over 30 years now who lost his older brother, and this was his older brother's car. And it's a manual shift vehicle, and it's got a lot of miles on it. I'm going to walk around and have everyone see this car and then maybe describe the miles to you after that. But it's got a lot of miles. It doesn't have a lot of market value as a result, and he really didn't know what to do with it. He doesn't even drive manual, so he really was just trying to figure out what to do. His older brother, though, was quite the car person, and he called him OCD in terms of how well he took care of the car. And when you hear how many miles this car has on it versus what it looks like and drives like, you're going to probably agree. I agree that his older brother was OCD. But he was a great guy. His name was Sammy, and he was a great guy. If you want to try to picture Sammy, fittingly, his name is Sammy, and if you think of Sammy Hagar, he grew up in the 80s like a lot of us did, and he kind of looked like Sammy, and he was a big rock and roll guy, had a lot of musical interests. This was his car. He was also an automotive enthusiast, and he wanted a car that was fun to drive, and he didn't have to get a Porsche or an exotic car. This got it done for him. Although his other car was a '94 Lotus Esprit, so he actually did have another more exotic car. Anyways, I inherited this vehicle, and it's really interesting because this is when BMW was at its height. This is when the BMW brand was the best it got. I know I sound like an old guy saying that, just like every old guy, you know, these cars could go uphill in bare feet in snow both ways to school and drive well. But this was a great car, and I remember it very fondly because I was working at Edmunds.com at the time, and we had a long-term 325 sedan with the exact same drivetrain, including the wood grain shifter that this thing has. So when I drive this car, there's all these weird memory stirrings I have every time I shift it and hear it and feel that straight six that's so smooth. To have a convertible version of that car 20 plus years later that's in this kind of shape and have it kind of fall in my lap is very exciting for me. Experienced a lot of things already in just the really 2 months that I've had it. I got it the Saturday after Thanksgiving of 2021. And again, that broad, smooth torque band from that 2.5 liter engine is fabulous. The shifter action is very good. The car is so analog, which you can't get in modern cars. Just to have hydraulic assisted steering, you know, I love how well they've made EPS work in today's world, but it still doesn't work as well as a full mechanical and hydraulic assisted system like this one has and cars of this era had. So I drive this vehicle and I just feel like, oh yeah, this is what cars used to be like. And some would argue this is the height in terms of as many modern conveniences as you can get without too much antiseptic technology that starts to dumb it down. Too much, you know, simulator-like feeling that you have in cars, like say a Tesla, where there's nothing analog about the car. It's completely a digital experience. It's like, you know, having a video game. So anyways, this car's been fabulous, and I'm gonna start doing some upgrades to it too. I've already picked up an M Sport steering wheel for it. One of the few areas that show any signs of wear are the cup holders and the center armrest storage pocket that are kind of deteriorating, but I've already gotten new ones of those, and I'm gonna have those installed in another video. And the oil level sensor light is lying to me. Every time I start it, the yellow light comes on with a little oil can saying I'm low on oil. And after about the 5th time it did that and I was fine, I went online and sure enough, the oil level sensor unit goes out a lot. So I've already got the part, I ordered it off Amazon, and I'm gonna replace that. And something else that's really fabulous about these cars, besides the way they look, and the styling's aged really well, and besides the way they drive, and they drive fabulously, is that there's a huge fan base for all these reasons I've already discussed. And so it's easy to find anything that you need to find out about these cars. You go onto Google or you go into YouTube and you do a search, and there will be an answer to whatever question you've got on these cars. So I'm really looking forward to keeping the car running well and doing the work myself, which Sammy, the original owner, did a lot of his own work. He did a lot of mechanical work himself, but he was also somewhat OCD about the condition of the car, waxing it and keeping it clean. And again, it's reflected. So we're gonna take a look at the car, some closer elements, details of the car, and you can see what kind of shape it's in. And then I'm gonna tell you how many miles are on the car, and you might be a little surprised. So let's do that next. All right, so we're gonna start out with a nice look at the wheels. These are part of the sport package. By the way, this car's kind of loaded. It has all the packages. But here's the sport wheels. They're in pretty good shape. Here's the headlight, including the headlight covers. It's in pretty good shape. You know, you look at the paint, you come down the side of the car, and it's in pretty good shape. So the exterior of the car is extremely clean. I actually just put in the wind blocker a few weeks ago after I'd gotten it, and again was thrilled with the ability to drive the car at higher speeds and have almost no wind buffeting. If you have this up, I feel like you can go about 50 to 60 and wind buffeting's minimal. And then if you go faster and you put the side windows up, you can go like 80 and wind buffeting is minimal. So that's pretty fabulous. But again, taillights, body panels, everything in this car is really clean. The entire car from front to back is really clean. I did find one thing that's like the worst part of the whole body. It looks like something rubbed and kind of rubbed on the paint there. That's the worst part of the body flaws on this car. Now, if you look at the interior, again, here we are. The interior is in pretty good shape, I think you could say. The dash, super clean. The center stack. The most wear you can really find on it, sort of, is like the steering wheel. If you see, there's a little bit of wear spots here. And I guess the seats, have a few wrinkles. They're not quite as tight as a brand new seat would be. There are some cracks in the wood grain on like the shifter. Oh, and then there's these scratches in the ashtray cover door, which apparently are common. I've found that out. Also a couple cracks in the wood grain on the door panel here. But I mean, I look at this car overall and I'm pretty amazed at the condition it was in. And when I took it out for a test drive, this is another telltale sign of how worn a car is. So here's the engine compartment. I think most people would describe the engine compartment in this car as pretty clean. Looks pretty good. By the way, it's kind of crazy how they have this big storage area over there. I've never had a car that has like a secondary storage area under the hood. By the way, this is my first BMW and my first convertible. We've now had a good look at the inside and the outside. I could open the trunk, but all you'd see in there is it's stuffed full of car cover, and there's also a BMW umbrella inside the trunk. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fire it up, and we're gonna show you the miles. Anyone have any guesses? Okay, there's your mileage. That's how many miles this car has on it. It's about to hit 207,000 miles. That's a lot of mileage, and I'm really, really surprised that the vehicle's in the kind of shape it's in. Now, have we gotten our yellow light yet? There it is. There's that line oil level sensor telling me I'm low when I'm not. So I got to fix that. It's going to require some swap outs. But when I saw the video online on YouTube, it looked like it was about as hard as an oil change. Once you're doing an oil change, it's literally like an extra 10 minutes or less to do that sensor. So I'm going to do that soon. And yeah, if you were wondering, it's got the upgraded audio system, the CD changers in the back, and then it's got a cassette player, which is being used right now. Little Billy Joel greatest hits. So here we are. This is my 2001 206,800 mile 325ci convertible. The top also works fine. Top goes up and down. All the windows go up and down fine. So there's really no issue besides that oil sending unit. The oil level sending unit is wrong. And I do notice that it will, sometimes I think the idle control valve, I've seen that referenced, and I think it might need some work. It looks like right now it's behaving itself, but it'll kind of, you come off of like 40 or 50 miles an hour and you come down to a stop at a stoplight, and that RPM will drop for a second or so below 500, and the engine will idle a little rough, and then it'll pop back up over 500. And I've done some searches, and it looks like the idle control valve on these things can get gummed up. So maybe I'll pull that, and it looks like that's not that hard to pull either. But otherwise, there you go. I'm anxiously awaiting the replacement of this steering wheel, which already is in a box at my house. And I'm going to be replacing the cup holders, which is just a simple pop-in insert, and the storage area under the armrest. It's a little gross and gummy and like honestly starting to crack. So I've got a new one already, again, in a box at home. So I'll probably do some videos when I do some of those upgrades. But here it is. And what the other thing I would say, guys, is I'm going to be looking to continue to get the E46 community's help on this vehicle. So thank you all the people out there who've already done a lot of great work on the vehicle and have told us all what to do when we have problems. I've found an answer to every question I've had so far. And yeah, I know there's some other things to keep in mind, like rear subframe connectors, because of cracks that can develop depending on how the vehicle's driven. So that can be some other stuff I'll talk about in future videos. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to putting more miles on my 206,000 mile BMW 325ci convertible.